For this fall activity, we're going to draw a cornucopia. To begin your sketch, draw very lightly because these initial lines are going to be erased later in the drawing. So this is just for us to create a map of where things are located, so don't press too hard with your pencil that you can't erase it later. To begin our cornucopia, you're going to have a slanted oval that takes up a lot of the picture plane because we're going to put a lot of fruit and vegetables inside of it. Then create two lines that come to a point on the left-hand side, and this is going to create kind of like a curved cone form. I'm going to go ahead and add a ring on the inside to show that this is the opening of our cornucopia. I also want a pumpkin in the foreground, which means I want a pumpkin super close to us, and our pumpkin begins with an oval, and then we're going to build the sides off of this. To create some movement, I'm going to have some grapes falling out of the bottom of the horn, but because this is just the initial drawing, I'm just going to create the form that's going to flow, and I'll add the details of the grapes later. So this is going to look a little bit like a sock dripping over the edge, but that's okay. Next, I'm going to fill the cornucopia with some extra fruit, maybe a couple apples, an orange, we want to place this on top of a table of some sort. So in order to create our lines for the table, I start from the left-hand side, create a line coming over, and then pick up my pencil and skip over my forms on the table, and then just have a faint line in the background going all the way across to the right-hand side. Since this is the sketch, I'm going to lighten this up. You can even do that with an eraser, and now we can add our details on top. So this little floppy sock coming over the edge of our cornucopia, now I'm going to place a bunch of grapes on it, and my grapes are going to take the form of that floppy sock. So just start by making some circles, and then have some circles overlapping one another, and you can even throw in a stem with some leaves. can even change up some of the shapes of the fruit and change the form of them. I add a few extra grapes because that would make more sense that the grapes would be coming from the bottom and then draping over. I also can add more details in this apple here. So this cornucopia is actually a three-dimensional form, and it's woven. It's usually woven like a basket. So we're going to give this a little bit more texture to look like a woven basket, and we're going to do that by bringing lines from the end of the horn and widening them as they come to the opening. So these do not have to look like perfect lines, especially if something's hand woven. Sometimes there are imperfections. So bring several lines coming from the point forward to the opening that get wider as it approaches the opening of the cornucopia. When something is woven, there are these repeated movements of winding and intertwining things that are over and under and overlapping one another. So these lines are going to be our horizontal lines going from left to right, and our woven texture is going to be these little tiny dashed lines that go over and under one another. So place some lines on your cornucopia going up and down, and in the empty spaces between each row, add more lines. So you're going to notice it's like I'm drawing in between the row above it. For the fall, we celebrate Thanksgiving, and so for our drawing for Thanksgiving, I decided to do a cornucopia because a cornucopia symbolizes plenty, and it consists of a goat's horn overflowing with flowers, fruit, and corn. And it's typically an ornamental container. It symbolizes an abundant supply of good things. So for our Thanksgiving, I want to show several good pieces of fruit and vegetables. If you want, you can add values through shadows, and that's coloring in, shading lightly with your pencil. Some people even like to smudge it. So underneath your objects, just press a little harder and go back and forth in a backward and forth motion with your pencil, almost like you're painting with the side of it. And then you can go back and smudge those a little bit with your finger or another piece of paper, and that's going to soften it up. Now I put my shadow towards the bottom left. That means my light is coming from the top right. So I'm going to go through on all of these objects and add a highlight facing the top right of the picture.